Great. Okay, so welcome everyone to today's session on understanding your audience. This workshop is all about how to tailor your digital content and strategy to reach and engage with the right people. So let's have a look at what we've got planned for you today. So here's today's agenda on your screens now. First, all the members of the Bridge team will introduce ourselves and go through today's learning outcomes. We'll also start at the beginning by asking, why do you need to know your audience? And then we'll be sharing how to collect and use audience insights. And after that, it'll be time to introduce you to audience personas using Lightful's new AI tool. And if we do have time, we will have a quick fun end of session quiz, and then followed by questions and next steps. So let's start by introducing myself. I'm Simran, a digital communications coach here at Lightful, and I have 5 years experience of working in social media within the nonprofit sector, where a lot of audience research was needed to ensure that our content was effective and having an impact that could be translated into all the stuff we like, such as donations or other smaller actions such as link clicks. But it's not just me here on the call today. I'm also joined by the lovely Svetlana, who will take some time to introduce herself also.
Thanks, Simran, and hi, everyone. It is lovely to see you all today. My name is Svetlana. I'm another digital communications coach on the Bridge program, and I'm joining you from Kyiv, Ukraine today. And before joining Lightful, I worked for a couple of years in the nonprofit sector, dealing with partnerships, fundraising, digital communications, and built-in digital campaigns as well. So I worked closely with nonprofit organizations across Ukraine and our partners as well. And I really believe that understanding your audience is really crucial, no matter what audience you're dealing with it, even if it's your service users or donors or partners. It is important to understand the needs and preferences they have. So I hope you find this session useful. And I will hand over back to Simran now to outline our learning outcomes for today.
Thank you. So this table should look a little bit familiar to you all because it's a digital strategy overview that we looked at in our previous session, where we discussed the value in smart objective setting, which is the first column. If you weren't able to attend that masterclass and haven't watched the recording back yet, I would really recommend giving yourself some time to catch up on that so that all of these elements of a digital strategy will become really familiar to you all. And so today we'll be focusing on the second column of your digital strategy, which is your audience. And understanding your audience is a really vital part of your digital strategy. To inform your strategy, you do need to learn about your existing audience and target audience. So that is who they are and how they engage with you or how you want them to engage with you. You can't build a strategy without knowing who you're gearing it towards. And one of the ways you could do that is by creating audience segments, which are categories of your audiences, which you can then bring to life by creating personas. And we'll talk you through how to do all of those things, from how to identify your target audience to creating those personas in today's session. Let's first begin with a quick poll. So to understand where everyone is currently at with knowing who their target audience is, I'm going to launch a quick poll to ask first, do you know who your target audiences are? And secondly, how confident do you feel about understanding your audience? So let me launch that. And it should be up for you right now. We've got a very good looking set of answers coming in. So we have majority of you are saying yes, you have a good understanding of your target audiences. And then in terms of confidence, a lot of you in the middle sector, so 4 and 3, which isn't a bad start. And while I'll let you, the rest of you, continue answering that poll, please do post in the chat and let us know the types of people that you want to reach online. So it might be stakeholders, investors, customers, buyers, supporters, or donors. We just love to hear who you're trying to reach so we can make sure that we can help you best engage them on your digital channels. So do let us know in the comment section below. And then I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'll just wait. So we've got Alba who's saying corporate sponsors, donors, and foundations, which will probably be common for most of you. And then Henry Frank saying that their target audience is job seekers. Definitely an interesting one. So while I wait for the answers to come in, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So why do you need to know your audience? Everyone here today could do more to better engage their audiences online, and that's why we're all here. You might share very compelling content in attractive and engaging formats, but I'm sure we've all experienced times when our content doesn't receive the engagement that we expected or hoped for. Maybe you wanted to reach a particular audience group, but completely missed the mark, or maybe you're just not getting the engagement you want to see. Understanding your audience is the foundation of any successful communication. When we know who we're creating content for, we can tailor it to be as useful and relevant as possible to that group of people. And without a deep knowledge of the audience, our efforts may not achieve the expected results. So why is understanding your audience so important? It enables us to speak to the right people with the right message at the right time and in the right place. The target audience is not always obvious, and if we understand who needs our content the most or is interested in our mission, we can make our communications more effective. Second, people perceive and respond to different types of content. Some prefer facts, while others prefer inspirational stories. So choosing the tone, style, and content of a message can make it more effective. Understanding the behavioral characteristics of our audience helps us choose the most effective time to communicate, whether it's through newsletter, blog, or social media post. Ultimately, knowing which platforms our channels knowing which platforms or channels our audiences prefer help us deliver our message where they are most likely to interact, whether it's social media, email, or website. Unfortunately, it's simply not enough to share high quality content, put it out there, maybe attach some hashtags, and hope that it resonates with people. That, unfortunately, majority of the times won't work. We need to understand who our audience currently is on our various digital channels to be able to directly target them with information you know they want. And your audience will likely be different on different channels. So when we say to understand who our audience currently is, we don't mean to simply know their names and some basic detail. We mean to know as much as you possibly can about them. Because if you don't know who you're talking to, then you don't know what content they want to see, what they're passionate about, or how they're most likely to engage with your organization. Is it through newsletter content, through your website, socials, or is it data they want to see, or maybe impact stories or videos? When you know who your audience is, you can speak to the right people with the right message at the right time in the right way and get results. And so it's important to know as much detail as possible about your audience so you know what will prompt them to take the action that you want them to. Also, knowing your audience helps you avoid wasting time and resources chasing after people who are unlikely to engage with your organization or message. Being intentional in how you communicate with your different audiences gets results. You'll be more successful at achieving your goals, whether that's donations, newsletter signups, or sharing your social media posts. For example, we often see organizations post the same images and captions across all of their social media channels. And whilst this maintains your presence in the most timely way, your audience on LinkedIn will be very different to your audience on Instagram in age, interests, location, occupation, and hobbies. Therefore, the content they want to engage with will also be different. Saying this, it's not about spending hours creating new content for each platform because we know that that simply isn't realistic. It's about making small tweaks to text, language, layout, imagery, and that makes a world of difference. Now, yes.
Yeah, so now I'm taking over to talk about your target audience and how to define your target audience. So it is really important to stop and think about who your target audience is, even if you think you already know about it. So your audience may change over time as well, and from different platform to platform. So, and as much as we would like to be able to reach everyone, your target audience cannot be everyone because you cannot target everyone with bespoke content and communications. So you need to get specific and think about the key characteristics of your target audience and which platforms they are best targeted on. So if you're not sure who your target audience is, think about what your goals are and think about who is most likely to help you achieve them. So if you're looking for people to donate, who do you know, what do you know about the people who already donate to your organization, and do they have anything in common? Think about all of the characteristics Simran mentioned before, like age, gender, location, occupation, hobbies, interests, and education as well. And all of this information is very useful in building up a picture of your target audience. For example, if one of your main goals for your organization is to increase online donations from corporate donors by 10% by the end of 2025, think should your primary focus be on your Instagram account where you might have a younger demographic of followers, or should you invest more time into LinkedIn where we know there are a high population of corporates? So always link your target audience back to those SMART goals you set after our last live session. And it is most likely that you will have more than one target audience, which is fine and something we encourage and expect. And I see from your answers in the chat that you would like to attract more than one target audience, which is great. So for many nonprofits, their target audiences fall into three broad categories that you can see now. So you have service users, so the people who take part in your programs and benefit from the work you do, or perhaps they are customers of the services that you offer. We also have donors or funders who support your work financially. And we also have supporters who engage with the organization in some way. And that could be through things like social media engagement or maybe volunteering. To get even more targeted, you can then choose to further segment these categories into subcategories. So for example, rather than donors, you can have major donors, individual donors, corporate donors, and rather than supporters, you can have new supporters and long-term supporters. And how you categorize your target audience is completely up to you, and again, will be based on your SMART goals. So you will also need to do a little bit of research into who currently engages with you and who you would like to engage with your organization in the future. And remember, you do not need to stick to one target audience. You can and should have multiple of them. And as your understanding of your audiences evolves, you and your organization focuses on different goals. Tailoring the audiences you're targeting to reflect these changes is important as well. And you do not just have to stick to those segments. Maybe you don't have any donors or service users yet, and you can segment your audience group however it is most suitable to your organization. So you might decide to segment your audience based on demographic, maybe based on their age and their gender, their income or occupation. And again, you will need to think how your communications will be tailored for each segment you create and how this will link back to your overall strategic goals. You might decide that segmenting based on geography is better suited for you. So if you offer services in different parts of the world, you can segment your communications for each region as well. And you can research which platforms are most utilized by each region and make sure that you tailor your content to the audience group living in that region using that platform. You also can use psychographic segmentation if you want to segment your audience based on their interests, lifestyle, or values. And maybe you offer volunteering opportunities for different projects that you're running. So you can evaluate what interests and values the people who would take part in each program have and tailor your content based on your findings. And finally, we have behavioral. So now this is based on consumers' previous behaviors with your organization. So some of the main traits within the segmentation type include product or service knowledge, purchase patterns, awareness of your organization, and service rating as well. And now let's take a look at the data that your organization can capture and analyze to help you define and understand your audience. So because of all digital channels you use, like social media, website, and email platforms, you have a huge wealth of data available to you. An important step in identifying who your audience is to compile data on your existing audience to find out who they are, what time they are most likely to be online, and what content they respond to and why. Donor metric reveal who your supporters are and how best to reach them. It is crucial in catering to your specific audience. And most importantly, the data that you collect can really strengthen your fundraising efforts and increase donor engagement. So you can make sure that you are using resources. And I do not just mean money, but also time, effort, and sometimes also money if you have a social media budget more wisely. And you can also lean on social media analytics for those important data-backed insights on your content, because they help you to understand your social media audience on a much deeper level and identify what pieces of content resonates with them and what doesn't. And that can help you speak to your audience as humans and think of topics of discussion that you can initiate with them. And once you review your analytics, the next step is to summarize the data into a short report of the people you want to reach. And this is what we call a persona. And this is something that we will talk about with you very soon. And Google Analytics is great for website data. So think conversion rates, click rates, etc. And social media platforms all have their own free analytics tools, which you can use to gain follower insights. On Lightful Social platform, you can also get some great insight into your social media engagement. And if you haven't already explored the platform, I also recommend you to connect your social media accounts and take a look around after today's session. And one really great feature that I always mention, because it's my favorite aspect of the platforms, is that it allows you to compare and contrast engagement across all social media platforms in one place. So you can identify which platforms are performing best and which are underperforming. And there are lots of tools and resources that you can use to access audience data and insights and different platforms that can give you different data sets. So sometimes it's a case of using a few at the same time. What I will do today is just show you how we can collect audience data using Meta Business Suite, because I'm aware that most of you are using Facebook, and it's an analytic tool that can give you a great insight into your audience. So, what details should you be tracking? There is a lot of data that you can collect, and it is important to gather a mixture of both qualitative and quantitative data. And here are two main areas to think about: demographics and behavioral. So you can start by tracking the following basic demographics like age, gender, location, marital status, and education. And this information will help you craft your content accordingly as well. And knowing where in the world your audience is based can help you understand what geographical areas to target and learn what time your audience is most likely to be online. So you can adapt your posting to that as well. And knowing their marital status, education, and general background can also help you tailor your online content to make it more relevant to their lifestyle and knowledge as well. And a lot of the time we get asked, well, how do we find out those more in-depth piece of information, such as their marital status or their education or their interests and hobbies? And this is a case of doing some outreach. So connect with your donors and supporters and ask them directly. And you can do this as a part of a survey in your next newsletter, or simply send them a message. And these are also fields that you can include in your donation form as well. So every time someone donates to your organization, you can automatically collect this data too. And once you have an idea of who your donors are, you will also want to dig deeper into that and determine their motivations for giving. So consider collecting advanced information such as behavioral data. Again, the analytics with social media platforms will be a huge help here as well. So for example, you can track how did they arrive on your platform, and you can do that through Google Analytics or, for example, some trackable links. You can also learn what do they click on. So this can be tracked on Meta Business Suite and other social media analytics tools. You can also learn what times they're most engaged with your post, and you can do that on Lightful Social platform and social media analytics tools. And then you can also track what channels do they prefer. So you can also compare and contrast your engagement on your platforms through Lightful Social platform too. So this data helps you find out how your audience behaves online and what actions they are most likely to take. And if you know that your audience are most likely to click on links to blog posts, you can increase content that includes blog posts in that. And if you notice that video posts get a higher engagement, you can then increase the number of videos you post on your social media. So now let's take a look at different platforms you can use. So I really recommend you take some time to have a look at your audience analytics over the next couple of weeks to help you paint a picture of who you currently have on your social media platforms and on your website and who's currently engaging with you and how they differ from the audience group you want to target. So you can do that through various platforms. Like I mentioned, we have Lightful Social platform, and you can use Google Analytics as well. And you can also take a look at individual channels by using their internal analytics tools to see who your audience is and how your audience is engaging with each post. And see which type of post gets the most shares or most comments. And once you are feeling confident in navigating your analytics, you can start branching out to see which platforms drive the most traffic to your website by getting set up on Google Analytics. And you can, I know that connecting your accounts to Google Analytics can be a little tricky at first, but if you're having trouble, reach out to the team and we can point you in the right direction. So feel free to book a one-to-one with our team and we can go through that together. So now I will quickly show you the Meta Business Suite and how you can find analytics here. So let me just adjust my screen a little. You can see that I have opened the Meta Business Suite on Facebook and we can go straight to Insights on the left. So we are here already. You can see the Audience tab here. And you can browse the demographics to see where your audience is from. So for example, we can see that most of our audience is coming from London and from the United States and from United Kingdom. We can also take a look into the ages of our audience, and we can also compare our audience on Facebook and Instagram. So for example, we can see that Instagram is a little younger. And we can also see some segments of your audience and trends in your audience. So you can take a look at that and analyze on how you can interact with this audience. So for example, as our audience is on Instagram is younger, that can impact on how we can adapt our content and how we can adapt this content for younger audience. So what awareness days might we be conscious about for these audiences, and why have people from these locations chosen to follow us? So we can use this information to better inform our strategy. And now I can show you the analytics tool on LinkedIn. So here we can see the number of followers we have and some follower demographics as well. So we can see some, can say to go to followers and see the follower metrics, and we can also see some follower demographic as well. So just to know where our audience is from. And we can also tap into the industries they're involved in and just get a little insight from that as well. So if you're not very familiar or confident with finding and understanding analytics, we do have a masterclass dedicated to this later in your bridge program. But don't feel that you need to wait until then to begin using the and understanding your data. There is an e-learning course on Lightful Academy that I would really recommend you completing called Introduction to Analytics. And we will be sharing the link to this in the chat. And you can also review that in your own time after today's session. And it is also a really good topic for a one-to-one call with the Lightful team. So if you're unsure where to get the data or how to interpret the data, we can help you find out about that and discuss that during our one-to-one digital coaching call as well. So once you have all the data you need to interpret it. So what conclusions can you draw from the numbers and insights that you have found out? And this will help you to understand what information your audience is wanting to see from you and what actions you need to take to grow engagement across all platforms. So you always should ask, so what? So what can you learn from this data? What does it mean and what does it tell you about your current practice? So you can also look for some similarities on your best performing content. What does it have in common? That can tell you a lot about what your audience enjoys seeing from you. So for example, that could be a content format. So for example, videos can be the most popular, or that could be a topic of the content. So that could be an educational content or personal stories, for example. And the same goes for your more poor performing content. So this helps you to understand what your audience doesn't engage with each post. So see which type of post gets the most shares and most comments. And once you have identified your target audiences, you can be more specific and intentional in your digital content. And this will lead to higher engagement rates, stronger relationships with your audience, and a more effective and personalized supporter experience. So you can see on your screens now 4 different communication channels that can be tailored very effectively to your different audience groups, such as social media, email, website, and stewardship. And we are going to go through each of those in detail now. So on social media, you aim your content at your target audience. Always have their needs at the forefront of your mind when putting posts together. If you have different audiences on different channels, you can tweak your content for each platform, which will help diversify your social media channels and make them more effective. And if you know who your audience is, you can choose appropriate visual content. So this is a sponsored post from the National Trust that you can see on your screen, focusing on families and showcasing their membership, which is a monthly donation plan, and highlighting the difference that members can make to protect nature, beauty, and history, but also with the benefits that members have, as this organization cares for historic houses, gardens, and areas of land, such as woodland and coastland, which members can then visit for free. Then we have email. So if you're noticing that your email engagement is on the lower side, you can then become more sophisticated by segmenting your email lists. So you can segment by age, gender, or those who clicked specific links or donated recently. And this means you can start to send more personalized emails. And you should be sending personalized emails using engagement opportunities that match your audience interests as well. For example, you can use different calls to action for your donors, for your volunteers, and for your service users. And also, it makes sure that you can send emails at optimal times for people in different regions. So on your screens now is an example of a nonprofit's email that is really targeted to their audience. It is from Charity Water, and and it's an email that has been sent to donors to a campaign that they are running. And the email reflects the relationship the reader already has with the nonprofit and shows how the money that the reader donated is being used. So they send the progress update on the appeal they shared before. Then we have website, and websites are great as you can cater to many different audience groups with different web pages. For example, you can create specific web pages for different individuals, partners, corporates, etc. And knowing which audience groups visit your website will ensure you use appropriate language as well. And it is important to make your website accessible and easy to discover for your audience. And this example you can see is from the Children's Organ Transplantation Association, which is a nonprofit in the US, which helps reduce financial burdens for families with children who require organ transplantations. So the website is really clearly laid out for their different audiences. For example, the menu has a section for families, for volunteers, for professionals, as well as a section about the organization and ways to give. And they have thought about the different needs of the different audience groups who visit the page and made it really simple for them to find the information they are looking for. And the last we have stewardship. So you should think of your content creation process as a digital relationship building, connecting with your audience on a deeper level through digital channels. And every interaction online is a digital footprint of a supporter journey with your organization, which you can track and follow. And you can then use this information to understand even more about your audience's behaviors and interests. And with that info, you can then create digital stewardship plans. For example, you can create content aimed at new audiences, existing audiences, or lapsed supporters. And as an example of this, you can see on your screens now an email template by Fundraising Kit about reestablishing a connection with a lapsed donor by deepening their donors to relationship outside of asking money. As part of your stewardship, you can invite a donor to volunteer their time, share your campaign on social media, or forward an email to their network. And while this email may not directly result in donors raised, it is a part of long-term donor stewardship and can make a big difference over time as well. So now I'm handing over to Simran to introduce us a more practical tools called personas.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're now going to introduce you to a digital strategy tool called Personas. And after researching and gaining insights into your audience, you can create these personas to deepen your understanding of who they are. Personas allow you to enhance your content and communications, enabling you to effectively reach and engage your target audience. And this process involves narrowing your focus rather than trying to appeal to everyone with every message, allowing you to realistically identify and connect with your specific audience. So first we're going to launch a poll, and it asks you, does your organization have any existing audience personas? And if so, which of the following tactics do you implement when engaging with your nonprofit's audience? So I'll wait for the answers to come through. So far we have half and half. So we've got some people saying they do use personas, some saying no, and one person saying that they use it as part of their digital strategy. And which of the following tactics do you implement? And identifying target audiences seems to be the most popular, followed by tailoring communication to different audiences, which is very important, and also, I guess, why we're all here. Okay, so moving on. What is a persona? A persona is a fictional character or person who represents an audience segment that you have. So they're entirely fictional and a hypothetical person that represents a group of your target audience. You use data and research to bring to life an example person from each of the main target audiences that you have, combining qualitative and quantitative data to put together a picture of who your ideal customer is and who the person is most likely to interact with your cause. Then, as you build on that and add details to your persona, you really start to understand any barriers and challenges that they may be facing and understand more about how you can reach them. Everyone has different priorities and motivations for engaging with your organization, but they're likely to share that in common with others in that same audience group. And they'll also have potential barriers that might stop them from engaging with you or taking the action you want them to take. And you just want to work out what these things are so that you can tap into that audience and really focus on what it is that they need from you. You can share personas internally with your team to make sure everyone is aligned in and what they're all working on. You can also build goals around your personas rather than trying to reach everyone with the same messages and call to action. You know what it is you want to reach you know what it is that you want each of your audience groups to do. Spending time to sit down and build your personas is really a way of humanizing your audience, understanding who they are, and using all of the analytics and data that you have access in order to turn it into something that feels very real and something that you can visualize. We're now going to take a look at an example of an audience persona for the American Cancer Society. So for anyone who isn't familiar with this organization, the ACS provide educational content to their audience, direct individuals to health services and information, advocate for access to healthcare and services, and also provide health services such as screening and support. So I want you to have a think about who might interact with their digital channels. So what might one of their personas look like? I'll wait in the comments to see if anyone has any idea of what their persona could look like. We don't we don't have any coming through, but that's okay because we've actually built one. Well, we have Patricia. So Patricia is a fictional character So she doesn't exist, but she gives us an idea of the demographic of people who might engage with the American Cancer Society. Patricia is 38 years old, lives in Texas, works as a teacher, recovered from breast cancer, is an active member of her church community, passionate about women's health and access to healthcare. And from doing some audience research into similar demographics, ACS can assume that Facebook would be the best platform to target someone like Patricia, as she might use Facebook to keep in touch with her friends and family. And I see Henry Frank has messaged what a persona could look like for their organization. Um, and it's someone that will be looking for the right tips and advice for a successful job interview. And that's great. So you look at the services you provide and you think about what sort of people would be seeking that. Okay, so moving on. Using this persona and knowing what Patricia is interested or disinterested in, the organization could create posts like what you see on the screen, tailored to Patricia. So you can see that she's likely to engage with them on Facebook, given what we know about her demographics, and she's an advocate for healthcare and a cancer survivor herself. So she could share content to help raise awareness and perhaps even become an ambassador. And using the persona helps you to really think about what she might like to see and share online. I'm now going to hand it over to Svetlana, who's going to demo a very exciting AI tool.
Thanks a lot, Simran. And thank you for sharing some persona ideas in the chat already. It is great. So we would be happy to support you with that. So to make it easier for you to create persona for your organization, I'm really excited to introduce you to an exciting new feature that has been created to help you with that. So we have created the Persona Creator tool that will help you craft an audience persona and offer immediate feedback. And it also provides focus and clarity to your audience persona. And it also helps you get some personalized feedback on your social media post through Compose AI tool to help you tailor your social media content according to your personas. So let me just show you how it works. So you can find the tool on Lightful Social Platform, and you can find it here on the left. And the tool is called Personas, and you can see there's a little lightning icon here. So it makes it means that it is AI powered tool. So let me just show you how it works. So once you land on the page, you will see the button to create a new persona. But we have created a persona for you already that I will demo. So as we have discussed Patricia before, let me just show you how it looks like. So once you click on create your persona, you will see the template to create your persona here. So firstly, you can select a category of your persona. So as we have mentioned, those could be one of the most popular types like service users, your donors or supporters, or it can be another audience group if you have more. So in our case, Patricia would be our supporter. And you can then select a subtype. So in our case, Patricia is an ambassador, but she could also be a volunteer or a cheerleader. Then you can select if this is an audience that you already have reached, or is it the audience that you would like to target in the future. Then you can add a little more background to your persona to just add a little more demographic data. So for example, in our case, you can add the name and their occupation. You can also have a think about their interests and add it here as well. You can also add their location. So as we have discussed, that would be really helpful to understand at which times to target them and what events to offer, for example. Then you can add their age range and their gender. And once you have done that, you can navigate to the next section. So here you can add your persona's habits. So just to add a little more background. And here you can add some information on which social media platforms do they use the most. So in our case, it would be Facebook and YouTube, but it can be, for example, if you have more volunteers who are a little younger, you would then select like TikTok, for example, or Instagram or Snapchat. And also you can select which is their average daily activity on social media. So in this case, you can also identify how often you should post, for example. And then you can select which channels would they prefer to hear from you. So in our case, that would be social media and email. So in this way, you can also understand on which channels you should use to contact them. And then the one section that I really like and I think is really important is their motivations. So why they might engage with you or what might stop them from engaging with you. So what are the barriers? So for example, they can have some personal issues like they're passionate about women's health, but they also can have some barriers. For example, like they're not aware of your organizations yet. So in this case, you can think of some ideas on how to engage them better. You can then also add some additional information about your persona if you like. So for example, you can describe their values or any other habits you feel might be important to mention. And then just to better envision your persona, you can add a face to your persona. So in this way, you can just create a clear image of them and use it. And then you can add some information about your organization as well. So just to give our AI tool a little more understanding about your organization and how you can interact with this persona. So once you have done that, you can click on Finish and Review. And this is how your persona will look like. So we can see this, all of the details that we have mentioned. And if you're happy with it, you can also save and exit, or you can also click on Get AI Feedback. So in this way, our AI tool will give you some suggestions on how you can improve your persona and better describe it to even better understand your persona's motivations and habits, and how you can then work with this persona and how you can engage them. And once you have done that, and once you're happy with your persona, you can also download it as a PDF. So as Simran mentioned, it would be really important to share it with your team, at least with your communications team, but it also may be worth sharing it with a wider team so that everyone is aware who you're working with and whom you want to engage. And I think another best practice is sometimes to just print it out and hang it in your office so that everyone is aware and everyone can see who they're interacting with every day. But this is not the end. As I mentioned, you can use the persona even more practically to review your social media content. So if you have connected your accounts to the Delightful platform, you can go to Create Posts and select some of the social media posts, some of the social media accounts you have connected. So let's select Facebook in our case. As we know, Patricia uses Facebook a lot. And you can create a simple social media post. So for example, support our charity. And you can use our persona to get AI feedback based on their interests and their preferences. Let's select Patricia from the list. Oh, sorry, I think I missed it. Yes. So we can click on Patricia's feedback to get Patricia's specific feedback for our post. And it will, our AI tool will suggest some things you can add to your post to make it even more personalized to better cater to Patricia's interests and habits. So I hope you find it useful, and you can either also play with this tool and try it out in your own time after our call today. And your homework today would be to create some personas for your audience. So I think that you have shared some ideas in the chat already. So it's great, and you can start using the tool to create your persona and then give us your feedback as well. So once you have done that, you can also send us a PDF version of your persona if you would like to discuss it in more detail. And we can also discuss your personas in our one-to-one and think of how you can tailor your content even more to tailor your content to those personas. So once you have built your personas, that is not the end. And you want to use all of the learnings you have from your personas to build out your content and make it persona-led. So as I've mentioned, you can tailor it and think about your communications channels, the types of content you create, and the asks that you are sharing, and make sure that they are aligned to all the things that you know about them. So for example, are you set up to succeed and engage them, or do you need to change how you're doing things? So with the example of the American Cancer Society, they can use Patricia as the sense check for their content. So would Patricia be interested in the content they create? Is it scheduled to go out at a time that would suit Patricia on a platform that she would engage with? So as a 38-year-old woman, this is possible that Patricia would prefer a platform that is not TikTok, for example. So when sharing content that is aimed at Patricia's conscious persona, they know that TikTok is not the right platform to reach her on, but that would be, for example, Facebook instead. So I hope that makes sense and you can try to create your audience personas after our session today. And now I will hand over to Simran to outline some of the next steps.
Okay, so time to move on to your next steps and homework. So before we do look at your next steps, let's take some time to celebrate our top Lightful Academy learners so far. Lots of you have logged in and started learning, but we'd like to give a shout out to those who were in the top place for your first month on the program. So first we have Laura Carter from Christie House, and she is at the top of the leaderboard with an impressive 12 courses completed on Lightful Academy, followed closely by the Miami Diaper Bank volunteers. And then in third place, we have Natasha Besselt from the Women's Fund Miami-Dade. Lots of you have been busy getting stuck into the Lightful Academy content, which is great to see. So if you do have any favorites, feel free to recommend them to each other in our WhatsApp chat. Well done to everyone. So what are your next steps? So first, we have a micro-learning course, which can help you identify your existing and target audiences and ask and gets you to explore questions such as who is your target audiences and introduction to analytics. And the link to that will be shared in the chat. Next will be to use our persona tool and compose AI tool as Svetlana has just demonstrated in this session. And then also please do book a one-to-one to work on your audiences. So by now, I know most of you have had your first one-to-one, which is brilliant. But now it's time to get your second one booked in to focus on your audiences. Either send us a copy of your persona and we can review it together. Then we'll talk about how to tailor your communications to reach your target audiences. Or if you'd like to work together on your persona creation, we can do this in your one-to-one also. And if you haven't had your first one-to-one yet, please do get that booked in as soon as possible, as it is integral to your process and to your progress on the Bridge program. Next, did you know that if your social media isn't accessible, you could alienate as much as 20% of your audience? That's according to figures from the non-profit scope. So I'm excited to invite you to a bonus webinar on social media accessibility on the 30th of April with the guest speaker Holly Tuke, who is the acting social media manager at Royal National Institute of Blind People and author of award-winning blog Life of a Blind Girl. She's also a freelance writer and disability advocate. Holly is passionate about encouraging people to make their digital communications accessible, as well as sharing her lived experience of disability to raise awareness and educate others. The webinar will cover the importance of digital accessibility, which is why accessibility matters on social media, how to apply best practices for accessible social media content. So that's understanding how to create and optimize alt text, image descriptions, video captions, and emoji use to make posts more accessible, and also inclusive strategies that you can implement. So that's to recognize the role of inclusive language, proper hashtag formatting, and additional accessibility tips to ensure content reaches and resonates with diverse audiences. You must register to attend this event, so make sure you secure your spot by clicking on the link in the chat. You are also now part of our Global Bridge community, so you can network with your peers, share campaign notices, receive sector-specific news and more on our Facebook community, where we have over 800 past and present Bridge participants from all around the world. And in your cohort specific WhatsApp group, you can receive Bridge updates specifically for this Bridge cohort that you are part of. And we'll also be sending reminders and notices straight to your mobile device. And you can network with others in this group too. You can share learnings, questions, and ask peers for feedback. So the links to that will also be shared in the chat. Lastly, we have our final poll, so please do take some time to go through these questions of, do you plan to create personas? How confident do you now feel about understanding your audience? And how useful did you find this session? And while you complete this poll, I'm going to open up the floor to any questions that you may have. So feel free to come off mute and ask any questions or post anything in the chat, and I'll give you some time to process.
And while everyone is typing, I think there has been a great question in the chat. So I know Sabina has answered this already, but I think that would be great to answer this out loud as well. So on how many people, how many personas you can have on the persona tool, and yeah, what if you have more than one persona, and how you can get feedback on that. So I think this is a great question. So on the persona tool, you can have as many personas as you wish. We recommend to stick up to 10 personas, so you're not targeting everyone. But we understand that you may have different personas, for example, a couple of donor personas, like your major donors or recurring donors, for example, or volunteers and service users. So you can create as many as you wish on the platform and get feedback from the tool, and then update and adapt them if you would like. So thank you for a great question. And I see another question from Edison. Will Delightful platform be available to us after the course is finished? And this is another great question. So so now you're using the professionals plan while you're on the program. So once you finish the program, you will get the survey at the end of the program, just to tell us a little more about your progress. And if you complete that, you will have another year of the professionals plan for free. If you would like to change your plan, you can then use the discount to move to another plan, or you can use the forever free plan, which is called Grassroots. So you can use it as well, and it is just limited to having 2 social media handles, but it is completely free for you. So you can either complete a survey and get another year for free, or just select another plan that you like. And we will send you a link to the billing information. So with the information about the plans in the chat, we can follow up on that. Thank you for the question. And I see Sabina has shared it already. So thanks a lot for your questions. I do not see any other questions so far. So I think maybe we can have some time for the final quiz. I'm sorry, did anyone have any question? Did anyone want to share?
I had a question, Henry
Yeah.
over at Transition. When it comes to personas, right?
Yeah.
I understand that the personas on the Lightful app are used to um um I guess modify posts to reach a specific person. But as far as personas, like is it similar, or would you say it's similar, or would it be beneficial to create a visual aid for this character? Right. So specifically for my organization, right, persona would be, someone being a job seeker, looking for tips and advice for, delivering a successful interview, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can create posts to engage that person, but let's say, would it be beneficial to also have a animated video, right?
Mhm.
Maybe to an animated video, like you know, going through the motions of an interview, right? Or going through the motions of job seeking, or, just we all know, right? A job search starts beyond, or far before, you get to the company, right? We're talking about your presentation, talking about the way you carry yourself, talking about the way you think about yourself, demeanor when you walk into a room, and you know, yeah. But would it be beneficial? Or so yes, it's beneficial, but does the Lightful tool have those? Does the Lightful app have those tools to create animated videos?
This is a great question. I don't think we have any tools for that so far, but this is a great suggestion, and we'll definitely note on that. So maybe, yeah, in the future we can add this to the review of that AI tool gives on the post that you create. So what the content would be, the content format would be, and on the video formatting, I think we do not have any tools for that, but this is a great suggestion. So what the tool does currently is reviewing your copy of your post and can give you some suggestions on how to improve the copy to make it a little more engaging for this specific audience. But this is a great suggestion, and we will definitely know that for the future. Thanks a lot, Henry Frank. Does anyone else have any questions? I think we do not have any questions. Oh yeah, and I see Sabina has shared that Canva would be a great tool for that, and definitely that would be really great to take a look into that. And Canva is a great tool for that. So I think we have some time left for a short quiz. So just a fun quiz, a fun activity to summarize what we have discussed today. So I will launch the first question now. And you can also keep score and share the results in the chat if you're a little competitive. So the first question is asking you, what is the one and only step that you should take before researching your audience for your digital strategy? Is it setting your objectives for your digital strategy? Is it writing down your barriers to success? Or is that deciding which social media channels you're going to use? So I'll give you a little more time to answer that, but I see that a lot of you have voted already. So I'll give you a couple more seconds. And we'll close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, and most of you got that right. So you should be starting with setting your objectives for your digital strategy. This is the first step that we recommend for every stage. But also deciding which social media channels you're going to use is another really important step. But we suggest doing that after you review your audience data to understand where your audience is the most active, and then using the channels that make sense. And now I'm going to launch another quick question just to ask you, which platform should you use if you want to raise the profile of your organization amongst both men and women between the ages of 16 and 35? So I see some votes coming through. And I see the majority of you have answered already, so I'll give you a couple more seconds to everyone who hasn't voted yet. And I'll close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so the majority of you got this one correct again. So that would be Instagram. Of course, it depends on the audience data you have. So it is important to check in with actual data you have. But Instagram tends to be the platform that engages more the younger audience. So for the people who are in the age of 16, Instagram would be the most popular among those three. Then we have another question. So the question number 3 is asking, who should your primary target audience be if you want to increase online donations during your annual campaign? Would that be elderly volunteers who help your organization, service users who need your support, or professionals with disposable income? And I see that most of you have shared already. So I'll close the poll in 3, 2, 1. And all of you got this correctly. So that would be professionals with disposable income. And I know that we're running out of time, so I'll just launch a fun and bonus question. And I hope all of you get this correctly. So what do you do once you have completed your persona? Do you throw it away? Do you forget that you created it? Or do you send it to the Lightful team for feedback? So I hope you all get this right. And I will close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Yes, and all of you got this correctly. So, of course, you send it to the Lightful team for feedback, or simply book a one-to-one with us to discuss it together. So I hope you enjoyed our live session today, and thank you everyone for listening and joining today. So I hope you will take some time to create your audience personas after today's session. And if you would need any help with that, please feel free to book a one-to-one with our team, or just email us at support@lightful.com if you need any help. And we're looking forward to seeing you during our next one-to-ones and our next live sessions. And also look out for our emails, and don't forget to join our Facebook group and our community. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.